So now we're going to make a different kind of game in Unity, a different kind of simulator, something that looks like this, that has electrostatic forces, can make ionic lattices. So I'm going to start by opening my working copy. Save this as a different project. So File, Save As, Scenes, Ionic Lattice. Okay, so you can see on the upper left it changed to Ionic Lattice as its name. We can now modify this without messing up the earlier scenes. Since we're working in a different kind of project, it will help to have some new prefabs. So these will be ions. So highlight Sphere 1 prefab. Control D will duplicate it. So you see here I have Sphere 1, 1. Rename that to be Ion 1. We can modify the properties of Ion 1. So Ion 1 properties are now on the right. So I double-clicked Ion 1 to find its properties. If I go to Scene View, I'm hoping you'll see a image of Ion 1 prefab. If you don't see an image, then click this again and click this in the upper left and it should appear. Alright, so Ion 1, boom. On the right, let's delete the mobile particle script. So these ions will move due to electrostatic forces instead of an automatic movement script. Then let's change the label and the color. Color, you remember, is here under Materials. Let's make it orange. And the label, remember the label's on the left. You highlight that, and then you have a place to input what text you want to appear. I'm going to use just a plus sign. The plus sign, it does appear rather small, so here under font size, let's make it a little bigger. How about 10? Okay. And one more thing. Let's add component. And this will be a script. And the one for ions will be this top one, charged particle script. Charge of this particle plus 2. Alright, so you can see that the plus didn't stay, but the 2 stayed. So that's ion 1. It's done. Let's duplicate ion 1. That is Control D. And now call this ion 2. Double click it, so we're editing the properties of ion 2. So here I'm changing its color. How about white matter? And we'll need to change its label from a plus to a minus. And we'll need to make the charge of the particle be -2. Okay, that should be it. Let's save Ion 1, Control S. Now we'll clear out the old spheres and replace them with ions. So this is the game view. You'll recall there's also a scene view. Here in the hierarchy, I'll highlight the 3 spheres that are in my scene. You might have more than that. And just hit delete. So now I have a blank scene. We're going to populate this with ions. So I'm dragging in positive ions first. Doesn't really matter. About 6 of them. Remember there's an upper wall, so if on the left you highlight the upper wall, you'll be able to see it, and don't put anything above that. Okay, ion 2s now. How about 6 of those? Okay, so I have 6 positives and 6 negatives. They're separated randomly. If I go back to game, let's see what it looks like. Looks pretty good. Not sure why the minus sign is off center here. Let's check my prefab. Check the text. It says it's supposed to be centered. Alright, so I go back to the scene. Let's add the proper user interface control. So again, expand that. And in this case, it's the electrostatic slider. So highlight the electrostatic slider. And then on the right, click the box. So now this initializes or activates electrostatic forces. It'll only work on particles that have charged particle script. But all our ions should have that because we modified the prefabs. So let's see what happens when I press play. So you can see they're starting to cluster. And they're obeying Coulomb's law, inverse square law. Let's see if they'll all come together. There we go. Beautiful. Now the cluster on the left has a net charge of +1. The big cluster has a net charge of -1. They should all find each other. And they're making a kind of an ugly lattice. It's an imperfect lattice. But there you go. Okay, if we increase the slider value, electric forces get stronger. Electrostatic forces get stronger. And you can kind of see you get a lot of wiggle here, which is realistic and nice. And if we take electrostatic forces away, then they just fall apart. So now we're going to add to this scene 2 things. First, we'll make the ions draggable. You may want your students to rearrange the particles, so let's make them draggable. Easy to do. I'm going to prefab of ion 1. On the far right, add component, a script called drag it. Same thing for ion 2. Add component on the right, script, drag it. Alright, let's see what that does. So now, let's say I want to give them a little help and say, come on over, come on over, come on over. There we go. Come on over. There we go. So I can help arrange the lattice. I'm not solely dependent on the forces of nature. Yeah, beautiful. I can still drag them. Lastly, go back to the scene. Highlight the Start Stop button on the left under User Interface Controls and activate that one. So now this gives you, or the user, an opportunity to say, nothing's happening, let me arrange things first. Make a nice pattern perhaps. Oh, this will be fun. And now, activate. Boom! Isn't that fun? You can pause. Once you've hit play, you can hit pause, and then time stops, and you can say, I want to move things around now, or take a picture, right? Sometimes you might want your students to take a screenshot, and then I should be able to activate once again. Alright, so those are 2 features that you may want to add. They're optional, but they're really easy to add. The Start Stop button, just activate it. the drag it script, add to a prefab. When you feel it's finished, first save it. Control S will save. And then build settings. So you'll need to add this scene to your build. Probably take away the old scene. Player settings. Should have remembered what you did last time. So you'll have to change the title, but you shouldn't have to change any of the other settings. And then build and run.